Today we're going to take a little time to talk about Mr. Laird Hamilton. If you don't know who Laird is, just put him in the YouTubes or type in Riding Giants into Google's and prepare to be amazed. Laird is well known as a big wave surfer. He's one of the very first people to ride at Piahi, which is also called Jaws on Maui. Rides enormous waves, is also a really important figure in the development of the modern watermen and the way people train for big wave surfing and for being in extreme water conditions. Laird is also one of the developers of the XPT method, which includes breath work, exposure, and pool training. And one of the really interesting things is Laird was one of the first people in the States to really start engaging in the Wim Hof method and using that as a part of his training. And then also, and I think at least as interestingly, is the Waterman training that Laird does in the pool. So this is a really, really interesting way to apply hypoxic work, because underwater you can't just breathe whenever you want to. And so some of this training that Laird has developed over the course of his career and as his time investigating and implementing new and progressive ways to train basically involves doing loaded carries underwater. It's really, really interesting training to do because, again, you don't have the option to just breathe when you want to. So in the water, you really find out who you are. Now, it's really, really cool stuff. They're integrating interval training, breath hold work, farmer's carries underwater, and even more complex movement variations with all kinds of plays on different intervals and breath patterns. It's really, really cool work, and XPT has some really amazing training around the Waterman work. Now, as we know from some of the research we've talked about before in the art of breath, that hypoxic work is proven to enhance endurance because your carbon dioxide tolerance goes up and because your body gets better at releasing oxygen into the system more efficiently to do work. Now, one of the best ways to test and improve this, if you've ever been a swimmer, you know, is hypoxic intervals. As much as they suck, really improve your conditioning. And it's a really, really interesting take on this work to do it in the water. Now, specifically if you're a big wave surfer or waterman and you're going to have to deal with forced breath holds, being able to do work while you're underwater holding your breath is really important. It's not like static apnea in free diving where you're allowing gravity to slowly pull you down to the depth you want to be at. When you're big wave surfing or you're in extreme water conditions, you might get pushed down when you're not quite ready. And so that's the origin of this training, this extreme waterman training that Laird developed. Now, having experienced this myself, I can tell you it will test you and it will expose you, but it is really amazing work, and especially if you have long-term joint problems and you can't really engage in a lot of loaded work on land. It's an amazing alternative if you have facilities available. Now, this kind of breath hold underwater work is not something you want to try to engage in without proper training. So I would highly recommend that you invest the time and energy into learning about it. It's not something you just want to jump into on your own. But just want to say, Laird, thank you for bringing these things to our awareness, our attention, and for continuing to push the boundaries of human performance.